Now, 90 different high-yield income ETFs. 11 added recently. New features to test all these ETFs. Risk-adjusted returns like the Sharpe, Sortino, and Kalmar ratio. Total returns, NAV erosion, distribution coverage. A complete overhaul of how we look at these ETFs, and a massive system upgrade. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited to debut this website here, a new, completely more efficient way to track these ETFs. We were previously, 70, 75? Now we're at 90 different ETFs, and the ability to grow this is going to be so much easier moving forward. Let's dive into all of the new updates. All right, so the biggest thing here is that this is now a hosted website online that you can get access to as part of being a member of the Option Income Academy. There's a link down in the description below. Tons of value there when it comes to selling options to create income, but you also, like I said, get exclusive access to this website. When you first get here, this is what it's going to look like. You'll enter the password, hit login. You're going to get a quick disclosure, understanding that, hey, this is none of this financial advice, all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Hit understand. And then you're going to get, first off, the new additions section, right? So anytime we do a new update, when we add new ETFs, and we'll start doing it in bulk, like at least 10 to 20 at a time now, as opposed to just 5, because it's a lot easier to do. Remember, previously we had this spreadsheet right here. I mean, look at this thing. This was just, I mean, it was great. But it took a lot of time to build this, and it took a lot of time to add new ETFs, and it was going to take a significant amount of time in order to update the data, because it was all through like February or March, and it was going to take a huge lift to get to April and May and beyond. And now it is a lot more streamlined. We kept all the good stuff and added so many additional goodies to track these different ETFs. Let's go back to the actual website here. So we've got the newest editions section here, highlighting the different ETFs we're covering today. So we'll break down those. It's going to include UTG, which is a utility income fund, KGLD from Curve, QDPL from Pacer, KYLD from Curve, KSLV from Curve. Then we've got a few from Roundhill, XPay, and MAGY. We'll call that Maggie, I guess. From Wisdom Tree, the WTPI ETF. EGGY, I guess we'll call it, EGGY, and then USA, which is a closed-end fund. We're kind of looking at all of the different types of high-yield income ETFs out there, whether those are open-ended funds, closed-end funds, high yield, moderate yield, everything in between. So this upper breakdown just breaks down for you the current yields as well as the total returns for these ETFs over the past trailing 12 months. We moved away from 2025 and instead going to look at trailing 12 months, which is going to include more ETFs and give us much more relevant information, I believe. So here's the breakdown here again for the new ETFs. We'll come back to that in a second. We've got the overview leaderboard here, which is we'll look at this here in just a second. We're going to break it down based on risk-adjusted returns. We're going to look at total returns, we'll look at distribution quality, and trailing 12 months. Here's the all-up review of the ETFs here, where you can sort based off of provider if you wanted to. You could sort based off of the different indexes that are covered, the inception date, current yields. We've got average yield since origination. All the things we were looking at previously, they're all here. We can, like that, we can see more of it. Sharpe ratio, distribution coverage, Sharpe ratio over the trailing 12 months, right? Total returns, all this information is here. We've got the distribution yield section here, which breaks down all of the distribution yields over this time frame, right? And then you can look at average yield since inception, right? Obviously, higher yields are more concerning, especially when we're talking about 30, 40, 50% and above. We got distribution coverage ratio here, all of them ranked. We've got net asset value erosion, or NAV change since inception, essentially here. We got total returns here, which is important as well, over the trailing 12 months, or we got the 3-year or the 5-year returns here, depending on which ETFs actually have that much history. We've got a all ETF return chart here, where we can say, hey, we want to look at all the ETFs here on a line chart. We want to look at either price return or total return, right? And we can see where all of the outliers are for that. Then again, risk-adjusted returns here, Sharpe, Sortino, Kalmar ratio here, trailing 12 months for the top 20 for total returns, available income per $10,000, and breaking down again where that Sharpe ratio and total return plot chart lands. We're going to come back to this one here really soon. I'm really excited about this because one of the biggest pieces of feedback you guys were giving me is, hey, this is great. You've got all these different ETFs, but which ones are the best? And the real answer here is, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And so you can come into the ETF screener here for all of the different ETFs we've tracked, which is 90 of them, and that's going to continue to grow. And you can say, well, I want to look at all of the ones that have at least a minimum yield of, we'll call it 8%, right? Anything below that, not worth it. And we want to make sure that it's got a minimum Sharpe ratio of at least, I don't know, 0.5. Okay. We also want to have a minimum distribution coverage of, it's got to be at least 1, right? We'll put that at 1. Okay. And we want the NAV to have gone up since origination, right? So let's put that over here, and we'll put that at, maybe 2%, right? And you can see that only seven of the 90 ETFs match our criteria. Very, very interesting. And I could show you the 7, but I'm going to leave that as a spoiler. We'll come back to it. We've also got the ETF detail, where this is similar to all those different tabs I had where I would go and look at it. You can come into any one of these ETFs and look at that individual ETF for all this data. So for example, one of the new ones we added, right? KGLD. We'll go look at that one. That's a new one. If I can find it. KGLD, right? Right here. And you can see, okay, we got what's the Sharpe ratio, what's the Sortino ratio, what's the Kalmar ratio, what's the latest closing price, current yield, NAV change since inception, total return over the trailing 12 months, right? And then available income based on a $10,000 investment, okay, over that for that year. So you can see the actual price change over this time frame here, over this, what is this? I think trailing 12 months right here. Yeah. And you've also got capital value since, actually this is since origination, I believe. Yeah, that's correct. And you can see what happens to $10,000 invested, right? No reinvestment, that's what happens to the $10,000. And then if you fully reinvest it, here's what that green line looks like right here. You can see the dividend payments. How consistent are they? Not bad, actually, right? And then you can see the distribution coverage by year for each of these ETFs. So that's really cool. And then lastly, one thing that I thought was really, really cool was the beta and correlation relative to the S&P 500, right? So one of the things you should know is that beta and correlation, this is based on a comment that I got, which was a really fair comment, which said, hey, they're not the same thing. And that's true, they're not. Beta and correlation are different. Beta is the magnitude, right? Correlation is how closely it tracks. So what you see here is a breakdown of all of the ETFs, okay, over the trailing 12 months, and you've got the correlation with the S&P 500 right here. One would be perfectly correlated. Okay, and then you've got down here the beta and the magnitude of the moves, right? So something down here has very little correlation and very little beta. That's very interesting from a diversification standpoint, right? So you got some of these outliers here, EIPI, and you can see here, if you click on it, you can see the trailing 12-month return and the current yield. You've also got MLPD right here, and you've got WEEI. Doesn't mean that these are ideal fits. It just means that they are radically different than the others. You've also got TLTW here. We've got BNDI. All of these are moving up towards more correlation, whereas if you can move further this way with beta, it means there's larger moves, but maybe not as much correlation. So KGLD find itself very in a very interesting spot where it's not too correlated, and it also has a lower beta, which means it's slower moving than the S&P 500, right? You've got UTG down here, GDXY, YBIT. You got Bitcoin down here, which makes sense that they're not very correlated, but they also have very high moves, right? Really high betas. So it's a really cool one as well. So let's come back over here to the newest edition. So these are the ones that, again, I was telling you about, we added here. We added 11 new ETFs. We last did 80, I believe. We might have actually gone from 75 to 80 and didn't actually film that one. I can't remember actually. We either have 11 or 16 brand new ones. And you might be thinking, well, 80 to 90s 10 or 15. That's because we dropped off cows. Cows just didn't have enough of a yield. It was like 2%. And that doesn't really fly with respect to high yield income ETFs. I feel like you got to get at least 5%. So I'm really targeting, if you're on the bubble, and you're already in the dashboard here, and you've got a 4% yield, I'll probably keep it. But if it's like 2%, 1%, 3%, doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we've got all of these ETFs in here, and so based on the 11 we're adding in here, if we sort by current yield, the top results here were Liberty. That's a closed-end fund, which was launched back in 1986. We got yields as high as 38% for MAGY from Round Hill. It's a Magnificent 7 covered call ETF. Got as low as 5.1 and 5.7 here for this utility income fund and this large cap dividend ETF. And you've got distribution coverages here, right? So you got them in the range of as high as 2.15. So anything over here above 1 is going to be a solid from a distribution coverage standpoint. And then these down here, concerning, right? KYLD, MAGY, and PDI have really low distribution coverage ratios. Also right here too, XPay and USA concerning there as well. We've got the Sharpe ratio here. So best Sharpe ratios here were KSLV. At least this is since origination, of course, but these funds don't have a ton of history, so it's kind of too soon to give it a true Sharpe ratio because it's only been like, what, 12 months or less? Yeah, less than 12 months. Some of these have pretty good trailing 12 months here, like UTG at 75%, really good. You've also got 64% here for QDPL, that's a new one. You can see where these specific ETFs have returned since December of 2025, which is we have to go with the shortest time frame to really track those. You can see that this silver went on a big run here, which you can see evidenced here, but most of them are kind of all falling together here from a price return standpoint. If you look at total return, silver did the best of them, KSLV, followed by EGGY, which was right around 12,000, grew from 10 to 12,000. The worst performer down here was Roundtail's MAGY, down to $9,433 when factoring in dividends, which means it went down in value. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to walk through each of these tabs here, look and see which of the are the top ETF leader on the leaderboard, for example, look at the distribution yield, the coverage, see where all of these ETFs are stacking up, and then of course we'll finish up with looking at that ETF screener to see which ETFs may be the best fit based on what you're trying to achieve. Again, 90 ETFs tracked. Got some overall views here. Really what I want to focus on first on trailing 12 months here, right? So best Sharpe ratio here. Really good, strong Sharpe ratios for some of them, like CHPY across the trailing 12 months. And again, I would say you should approach trailing 12 months as an affirmation that things are continuing to go well, as opposed to saying, wow, those are great numbers, that must be a good ETF. It could be just an okay ETF that had a really good year, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to move down here actually to distribution quality, right? So highest yields, that's helpful, but only within the context of best distribution coverage. Is anything here showing up over here? We actually don't have anything from the highest current yield in the best distribution coverage section, which would be really cool actually, but that makes sense. What we've found oftentimes in looking at these ETFs is really high yields do not translate to really good performance. Many times they're over distributing that income. So let's go ahead and move down to total returns here. This is really cool. We've got CHPY and SOXY showing up in both of them here. We've also got GPIQ here showing up in the best 3-year return section here. OVL we've seen before in the best 5-year return, which does limit how many ETFs are available. We've got OVL, then GCOW, then DEVO, QYLG, UTG. Risk-adjusted returns, this part's really cool, right? Best Sharpe ratio, and this is since origination. Now, some of these are not that old of ETFs, so you got to keep that in mind as well. The CHPY made the top result here with a Sharpe ratio of 2.98. We've got T-SPY up here, SOXY, TDAC, GPIX and GPIC, and then Bali up here. Really strong Sharpe ratios. Sortino takes out the negative consequence of upside volatility and really only focuses on the downside volatility. And so you still have some of these ETFs here in these top results, although sometimes the rankings are a little bit different. CAMR ratio factors in the drawdown percentage versus the overall returns. Top result here by far is CHPY. We've also got GPIC in here, along with TDAC and EGGY. And then best NAV growth since origination here. OVL takes the top spot, followed by SOXY, UTG, CHPY, DEVO, GCOW, and OVS. So this is just some of the leaderboards, right? And we want to be aware of how often they show up in different sections, but really what we want to do is be able to eventually look at the ETF screener and say, well, which of these make the most sense for me? Some of these ETFs may have a good year or may have really good NAV growth or really good yields, but that may not be exactly what you're trying to solve for. Here's the overall ETF comparison table. If you wanted to look at all of the ETFs all up here, or even break it down based on different specific ETF providers, you could do that here. Not as much value in this section that we're going to look at. So let's go to the distribution yields here. All the ETFs here sorted, and you can see here, lots of ETFs down here with not as good of a yield. But again, yield is not necessarily an indicator of overall quality. So this is cool, and we can see where things land, but really what we want to see is distribution coverage paired with that as well. We want to see really strong distribution coverage ratios. We go like that. We can see anything in green is going to be over 1, which means that all of the distributions are fully covered by either dividends received and or growth in the underlying ETF. So we're not over distributing income. You can see some real problems here with Ulti, YBIT, CRF, CLN, and BTX, among others. And these could be a little bit concerning, although if you're close to 1, you're probably okay. Like QQQT is like 0.92, not a big deal. 0.90 for RYLG, PBP is at 0.88, but then you start to get a little bit more concerning as you go down. Then we've also got reinvestment required since inception. So these ETFs over here did not require any reinvestment, which is great. We want that to be the case. These are really concerning. Anything in red, orange, anything north of, I don't know, 20 to 25% would be a problem. So these are kind of a problem. And you can see the similar ETFs here are also having problems over the trailing 12 months as well as since inception. Let's move on down here to NAV erosion, a big concern we want to have, right? And so some of these ETFs have tons of income available after NAV protection, okay? And so some of these ETFs are more concerning, like GCOW over here, either because they just don't have a lot of income generated at all, or because of how much income they have to reinvest in order to maintain their net asset value balance. We got total returns here graphed, and some of these ETFs do a really good job of staying positive over the trailing 12 months. There's only a few that were negative over trailing, but if you look at 3-year, it's I think 4. And then if we look at 5-year, we only have a few that are down on total return. Here's that all ETF return chart here, which is kind of cool. Shows you the different ETFs when you look at just price return as well as total return. Okay, over different time frames like a year. And obviously you get different results if you look at no reinvestments versus reinvesting dividends like total return, right? Obviously total return is going to be helpful for you when you think about overall performance, but price return could be helpful too, just to understand if you're living on your dividends, what's going to actually happen here. Let's look at the risk-adjusted returns here, Sharpe ratio, Sortino, and Calmar. Obviously, some ETFs do a much better job of providing risk-adjusted returns, at least since inception or over the trailing 12 months. Again, we've talked about the difference between Sharpe, Sortino, and Calmar, so we'll pass on this for now. And we'll also pass on trailing 12-month performance here. And then, of course, ETF details, when you can go to each of these individual ETFs and say, well, how did this ETF do? Like, I don't know, QQQI, for example, you can see a really strong Sharpe ratio, Sortino ratio, and you can see that price movement over time, the capital value changes, and the dividend payments. Really cool. And then, okay, so ETF screener. Let's say you're looking for a specific set of ETFs. Let's say you want to, I don't know, you specifically want higher yield. Not too high, so maybe, I don't know, 8%. Okay, so you want to minimize us, get rid of some of those smaller yielders. Go 7.9. Okay, and then let's say we want a Sharpe ratio of at least 0.8. And let's say we also want to make sure our distribution coverage ratio is at least 1. Okay, so now of the 90 ETFs, only 14 are now meeting that criteria, which would be helpful for you, right? And maybe what we'll have to do is include a slider that says advantage benefits, maybe like some of those tax efficient payments. We'll have to include that in the future. Let's say here we want the NAV to have not gone down at all since inception, right? That might be interesting. Let's look at that. At least 0. Right, we still got 14 there. That's cool. Maybe let's go to 10% growth. Now we're down to 12 ETFs. Okay. And let's see here. Minimum average yield. That's fine. That's fine. I think we're pretty much good on that. So there's other filters, by the way, or sliders you'd like to look at for these. Let me know. Make sure to leave your 2 cents down in the comments below. So of these 12, if we sort these here, we can say, well, the top yielders, let's go sort descending. Yeah, that's not right. This is all jacked up. I'll have to fix that later. But let's say we wanted to look at distribution coverage ratio. Well, these are really high distribution coverages. Total available income can be helpful as well, looking at how much income is available. But really what this breaks down for you is kind of maybe isolating the ETFs that might make the most sense for you. You might want to look for certain ETFs that are lower yield, but maybe have higher total return characteristics, right? So you come back over here. Let's say I don't have as much of a concern about the minimum yield. Let's say I'll go down to at least 4.4%, right? Well, then we got more ETFs to choose from, and maybe we want a minimum NAV change to be higher. Let's say we want that to have grown to 21%, right? So now we've got some different ETFs here that might make more sense, such as like current yields here, right? Like IDVO, right? More modest yield at 5.5%, but also has a really strong distribution coverage ratio, also still a really strong Sharpe ratio, really strong total return metrics, and really strong net asset value changes. Just doesn't have quite as much income up front like you get with maybe a QQQI or an SPYI, for example. So hopefully you found some value out of this video, guys. You got access to some new ETFs that we haven't talked about in a while. You got to see a little bit of a glimpse of where this spreadsheet is going and how we're being able to optimize it, right? So you can make much better informed decisions, and we can add more data much quicker along the way. Again, if you want access to this spreadsheet at any time and all future iterations, check out the Options Income Academy website. There's a link down in the description below. You can get access to that, plus additional content regarding selling options to create income in your portfolio to really optimize your retirement. Again, make sure to leave your 2 cents down in the comments below as well. I want to know your feedback. Tell me what you want to see more of. What ways can we iterate and make this spreadsheet even better for everybody? That's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.